Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. You know what it is. All right, you guys, peep game. You know, I want to get back to talking about boxing and just a flawed system that we have in boxing as far as scoring a fight. I mean, technically, you could score a fight however you want to, but then there are certain things that should be obvious when it comes to an eye test. Just obvious. Like, one thing about me, I'm not influenced by, you know, broadcasters, color commentary. I do my own eye test. And like I said before, I saw Jack Catterall defeat Josh Taylor. Now, I said this before, and I will say this again. They may need to add more judges to score these fights than just 3 judges. And where does it say in the rule book they can't? Because obviously they can't seem to get it right the first time. Too many times you've seen some very questionable decisions in boxing get made, where some things you can understand where it could have went either way, but then you have sometimes the obvious, and the obvious was Catterall won that fight. And I think it's flaws in scoring. I think it's flaws in judging. I just think it's just a lot of flaws as far as how we score a fight. Okay? That's just real talk. And I think they need to find a new system. I've been saying this for the longest. I think they need to have, I really think they need to have possibly 5 judges instead of 3. Because then we might could get a decisive winner. Because it just seems like it's just too much weird stuff that's just going on in boxing. Maybe they do need to have open scorecards. At first I was like, nah, I want to be surprised. But that's the problem. I'm surprised a little too much for my liking. I'm surprised with the decision and how they're scoring these fights, because they do need to, after every fight, they need to make it mandatory that these judges, after these fights, especially if it's a controversial decision, they need to talk to the media and explain to us how they came up with the score they came up with. That's just real talk. And like I said, once again, I ain't got nothing against Josh Taylor, but he didn't win that fight. It's just so, I mean, for real. If you having a 12th round fight, and the guy going into the first 9 rounds has won probably 7 of them, you already lost the fight, which means you have to do something dramatic. I'm talking about you have to dominate. You have to knock this dude down at least 3 times. Catterall was clearly ahead going into the 8th round. At least, I mean, at the very least, he had at least 6 rounds won out of 8. I mean, he outlanded him. He outlanded him in every category. So how did Taylor win that fight? So I'm just saying, man, and I'm not knocking, like I said. They need to come with a new system how to score these fights. You know, they need a new system. Like I said, either they need to add a 4th or a 5th judge, or they need to have a panel that sit at these fights, especially championship caliber fights, and if they and they need to have a panel of 5 like watching the fight. And if they have an issue with the judges and how they scored the fight, they should say, hey, no, you got to rescore this fight. You have to rewatch this fight and then and then come back in an hour and then give us a score again. I think it should be an instant appeal, because like I said before, they need to fix this. They have a very flawed system, and a lot of times we're not getting the real winner. You saw it in Canelo fights. You saw it in other fights. But when you clearly have a dude out of a 12th round fight that clearly won 7 rounds, at the very least, minimum won 7 rounds, maximum won 8. So how does he lose a fight? They have a flawed system in boxing, and something need to be changed. I don't have the answers. I'm looking for suggestions in the comment section. Should they add more judges? Should they have a committee, a special committee, when championship fights go down, where they instantly, if they have an issue with the decision, they can make the judges rescore the fight if they think it's too controversial? And I think deep down inside, Josh Taylor know he didn't win that fight. But yeah, they have a very flawed system, and they got to make some changes. This your boy Town Biz. I'm out.